Once upon a time, there was a young man named Ethan Cole, fresh out of college and full of dreams. But let me tell ya, we had dealt him quite the poker hand. In his mid-20s, flat broke, burnt out from a soul-sucking sales job, barely scraping by paycheck to paycheck. His apartment was a disaster zone, bills stacked high on the kitchen table, and the only sounds were the hum of the fridge and the ticking clock mocking his wasted time. Behind his forced fake smile, he was drowning in despair. One evening, after another failed attempt at wooing a customer, Ethan slumped in front of his mirror and stared back at himself. His reflection seemed like a stranger, haggard eyes staring back listlessly. "Is this really my life?" he muttered into the mirror. "Or is there more that I'm missing?" Just then, a fly landed on the glass, trapped like him. "I need a way out," he whispered, vowing to himself. Then came the annual company get-together. At these events, Ethan would unwind, drown his sorrows in beer, and try to forget the relentless pressure of hitting quotas, of failing to meet expectations. But this year, his boss singled him out in front of the entire team, humiliating him for his lack of sales. "Ethan," his boss said, his voice dripping with sarcasm, "you are the lowest producer we have, and if it weren't for your useless presence here tonight, I would fire you right now." These words struck him like a punch to the gut. Feeling defeated and drenched in the rain, Ethan made his way home. As he trudged along, a white van pulled up beside him. A friendly face leaned out. "Hey, man, do you want to change your life?" Ethan stopped and turned to see a stack of flyers in the woman's hand. "What?" he asked, confused. She handed him one and smiled mysteriously. "You should be there. It could change everything," she said cryptically before driving off. Left alone with the flyer, Ethan saw the words, "Jim Rohn Seminar Change Your Life." He scoffed, thinking it was probably just another one of those get-rich-quick schemes. He crumpled the flyer and tossed it into his pocket. When he got home, he threw himself onto his couch, overwhelmed by fatigue and dispirited. Despite his best efforts, sleep wouldn't come. Tossing and turning, he felt a nagging emptiness inside him. Suddenly, his mind drifted back to the flyer in his pocket. With a sigh, he fished it out, unfolded it, and began reading. It spoke of personal growth, success, and transformation. All things Ethan desperately craved. He thought, "What do I have to lose? Maybe it will give me some answers." So he decided to go. The next morning, he drove to the seminar venue, a stark building that looked more like a storage unit than a place that could change lives. Ethan sat in the back row, arms crossed, skepticism evident on his face. Around him were people of all ages, some nodding intently, others scribbling notes. But Ethan remained unconvinced. Then Jim Rohn took the stage. There was something about his calm demeanor and quiet confidence that commanded respect. And when he started speaking, his words cut through the noise in Ethan's head. "Work harder on yourself than you do on your job," Jim said, his voice echoing in the room. "For things to change, you must change." These words hit home for Ethan, who realized that he had been blaming his circumstances, his job, his lack of money, for his dissatisfaction. No one was holding him back but himself. A montage then played, showing Ethan buying a cheap notebook, beginning to write down his goals, reading late into the night, and setting multiple alarms to wake up early. He studied Jim's lessons, determined to make sense of them. But as he began implementing the advice he had learned, his friends couldn't help but mock him. "Self-help, that stuff's a scam," they said, laughing at his newfound interests. Ethan almost quit, but then he heard Jim's words again. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. So he kept going. He woke up at 5 a.m. every day to run, study, and journal. Slowly, he began standing taller, speaking with more conviction. He even started engaging in conversations he once would have avoided. Then came the day when he decided to give a small speech at a local community event. He stumbled over his words, his hands trembled, and he profusely sweated. He forgot parts of his speech, and the whole time, he could feel his face burning with shame. But through it all, he persevered. And when he finished, despite his best efforts, an older man in the crowd stood up and clapped. "You've got something, son," he said with a smile. "Keep going." And though the audience wasn't large, Ethan felt a surge of accomplishment. Weeks later, he received an email that changed everything. The company president invited him to speak at their annual retreat, an event attended by hundreds of employees from around the world. He was to talk about mindset and personal growth. To say he was nervous was an understatement. The idea of addressing hundreds of people terrified him, but he accepted the invitation and prepared for months. The night before the big day, panic hit him like a tidal wave. Images flashed before his eyes of his past self, broke, hopeless, and lost. Doubts crept into his mind, whispering that he was a fraud. What am I doing here? He wondered. Just then, he remembered Jim's words. If you really want to do something, you find a way. If you really want to do something, you make a way. Taking a deep breath, he whispered, "This is my moment." As he stepped onto the stage, the warm applause washed over him, calming his nerves. Voice still trembling, he began sharing his story, his struggle, the lessons he learned, the discipline he developed. The crowd leaned in, nodding in understanding, some wiping tears as they connected with his journey. When he finished, the room erupted in a thundering applause. People rushed to shake his hand, thanking him for his insights. He realized then that his voice had the power to move people, to inspire them to become better versions of themselves. Years went by. The more he gave, the more he received. He traveled around the world, speaking to students, workers, entrepreneurs, and anyone who would listen. Each time he shared his story, people would leave changed, inspired to take action. Back in his apartment, which was no longer a mess but a testament to his success, he had a vision board, neatly stacked books and journals filled with insights and experiences. He had come a long way from the young man who had stumbled into Jim Rohn's seminar. One evening, as he sat in his now cozy apartment, writing in his notebook, a sense of contentment washed over him. It had been quite the journey, he thought, looking back at the worn copy of Jim Rohn's book on his desk. Success, he realized, isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by the person you become. And that, he knew, was the true essence of Jim Rohn's teachings. So if you, too, find yourself at a crossroads in life, remember Ethan's story. Don't let self-doubt or fear hold you back. Take that leap of faith. Seek out mentors, learn from their wisdom, and most importantly, believe in yourself. Success isn't a destination. It's a journey of personal growth and self-discovery. And it all starts with a single step. Thank you for watching. And don't forget to stay tuned for more motivational videos and check out our other content. If you found inspiration in this story, please hit the like button and share it with a friend. Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep striving for greatness. And remember, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better.